think we should dive, well, before we dive in, I think that we should remind everyone a couple things. I think number one is, gig is all about helping operators, managers, general managers, department heads, golf course owners improve their business. And that's the goal of these live Q&A sessions. That's the goal of Golf Industry Group,
Let's
period.
roll our first question, James. This comes to us from the east coast of Canada, from Halifax. And Tricia asks, I can't find people for work, so I have some substandard people on our team right now. What should I do?
But let's just talk about the generalized topic, no matter where you might be in your thing, because sometimes some people right now are finding it easy to find staff because there's so many people out of work right now because of the pandemic in the restaurant side of things. And so there's a lot of people out there looking for work. But I can tell you there's certain parts of the country in Canada and other parts of the world. I read an article the other day about in the United States, in the golf industry, it is right now one of the most difficult things to do right now is to find quality employees in the golf industry right now in the States. So let's just talk about Tricia's question. Well, obviously, if I could just give you a few pointers, number one is you got to work with what you have, right? And so we can't, obviously, I like to talk about weeding the garden on a regular basis. I like to talk about the importance of improving your team. I like to talk about the fact that if you don't terminate poor performing employees, it will bring the entire team down to a lesser level than you could be. And look at any sports team, look at any organization, they are constantly focusing on either improving or removing the bottom 10% and raising the quality of their overall team, because that's what you got to hold people accountable. But if you're having challenges finding some people, let's talk about a couple things. So number one is, let's just talk about making sure that we're doing everything possible to hire people and to find people. And I like to say that in the parking lot, there should be a sign that says no outside alcohol and another sign that says we're hiring today. Because we constantly want to realize we've got thousands of people coming into our facility on a regular monthly basis, and they all have grandchildren and children and friends. And so they just don't know. They haven't thought about it. It's like advertising. It's not at the top of their mindset. So we really want to make sure that our newsletters that go out to our customers, maybe we have a sign on our GPS on the golf course. Maybe we have something on the invoice or the bill that when someone gets a receipt. By the way, do you know any rock stars? We're hiring. So part of it is constantly making sure that it's a top of mind, that you're always hiring. And also that you're always interviewing, right? It's not like our interviews are next Monday. It's like, no, if you're interested in working here, I'll call you up right now. Let's set up a Zoom call for this afternoon at 2:00. Another thing we like to do is offer a referral. You've got some good employees. So you've got some substandard people. You've also got some good people on your team. So go to those good people and say, look, I need you to go find some people just like you. We have a shortage of some staff maybe in this area. And I tell you what, if you go find someone that comes to work here and they pass their probationary period and they're successful, then, I'm going to give you a $100 gift certificate for the restaurant or for the golf shop, or I'm going to give you a guest green fee for one of your friends, whatever you want to do there, right? But there's really a way to kind of find people. So that's number one. I think number two, with your substandard people, that's the whole challenge, isn't it, of managing people and getting them motivated and getting them engaged. And obviously, they take more work. And I will share with you one thing that we did once in an operation, because it was, we didn't have thousands and thousands of dollars to train on a regular basis. We couldn't bring in, consultants or programs or all kinds of other training to kind of get people going. But what we did instead was what we created was a buddy system. And the buddy system was matching up employees to support each other in being the best that they could possibly be. So what we would do is we created kind of teams of two, and we focused those teams of two, knowing obviously that we put a really good employee with a substandard employee to have them mentor and coach that person, and just to kind of be with them on a daily basis. I mean, the challenge as managers, we're stuck behind our desks filled with paperwork and invoices and emails that we have to answer and get to, or sales that we have to make. And we have a challenge, obviously, sometimes in being on the floor, right? Being hand in hand with someone washing a golf cart, or being out raking bunkers, or serving a table on the patio. So the buddy system kind of allows you to really put a good employee with a substandard employee without saying that, obviously, out loud, and really kind of will train each other, talk to each other on a regular basis. And then you can go to each of them once a week or once every couple of weeks and say, how's it going with the two of you? So you've got added ears and eyes on these people that you're having challenges with working there. I mean, I think, Scott, we could talk about it. There's so many different things there. I mean, I remember one time we worked for a very, very wealthy businessman, and he one time called me into his office and he said, Mr. Kronk, there's two things that I don't like about your business that they're dependent upon. And I said, what's that, sir? And he said, the weather and people, right? Because
both unpredictable.
I mean, they're both so unpredictable, right? And people are unpredictable. So,
all right. So our next question from Justin in Saskatoon.
Oh, yeah.
This is a good one.
Yeah, I saw this earlier, this question.
We have a very popular golf pro at our club who is often invited to hang out with members after golf. Drinking too much becomes an issue. What's the right thing to do?
There are so many stereotype jokes we could say right now.
Totally.
We're not going to say that. Boy, when I just this morning when Scott was just giving me a little heads up on some of the questions that had come in, I saw this one. I was like, holy smokes. Like, this is so common. Like if you've been in this business long enough, you have come across this situation. And, let's be clear. In this case, it's the golf professional, but it could also be the maintenance manager. It could be the bartender. It could be all kinds of different people, right? That has to do with drinking on the property. I mean, I have a couple thoughts on this one, and obviously, you've got to figure out what's the right thing for you, because as I'm sure you would assume, there are some clubs that just simply have a zero alcohol policy. Like, it's zero. You can never have an alcoholic drink on our grounds, on our property. You can't show up with any alcohol in your breath, and you can't have any while you're here at any time. Even as a customer, you can't come to your club and be a customer. So obviously, it starts off with, what is your policy, and where do you want that policy to be? And I can tell you in my experience, so I don't like that policy, right? I don't like a zero policy, because I believe that we are in the relationship business and creating relationships with our customers and our guests and our members. And one of the ways that the staff create relationships with our customers, guests, and our members is that they sometimes will socialize with them or will engage with them. For example, they might play golf with them on the golf course. They might play golf with them on men's night. I mean, that's one of my pet peeves, is when the staff play golf on men's night or ladies' day and they just play with other staff. It's just like, are you kidding me? Your whole point is to play with as many different people as you possibly can. So that's, so number one is, where do you want your policy to be? Where do you believe is the right thing to do? Number one. Number two is that policy has to be applicable to all, right? I like to kind of say, I have a few lessons and rules as a manager. What I do for one, I do for all. So if I'm going to say yes to Bill, I'm also going to say yes to Betty. Number one. Number two is, whatever I say, I'm going to have to be able to say it in front of the people that write my check and a judge, right? So if I allow something to happen, then then it's going to be something that I'm comfortable telling the person that writes the check, right? That pays me whatever they pay me to do, whatever that role is, right? Or I got to be able to stand in front of a judge and say, yes, I said they could do that, right? because if I said, so I don't want to stand in front of a judge. Yeah, I have no policy on alcohol. I know the staff get drunk all the time, and it was just a matter of time before someone flipped a golf cart and was killed. I mean, if that's what I'm going to say in front of a judge, I'm going to be in big trouble, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So here's the couple things that I would kind of say are some important options. Number one is to clarify when someone is working and when someone is not working. So my rule is you can go play golf with members, but you are not working at that. You have two options. Option number one is you can go play golf with members during your, let's say it's playing in a tournament, playing men's night, and the golf professional comes into work at 12, men's night starts at 2, and they go on the golf course. And it's important for me that the staff play with the members, and so it's part of their job, hypothetically speaking. If it is part of their job, then you can go play during work, but there's no drinking. Obviously, there's no drinking because you're working.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to pay you at that point in time, and you're on a shift, there is no alcohol, because if something happens and you've had alcohol, then we have a big problem. Number two option is, so now you're not working and this is your own time. Okay, so let's be clear. This is above and beyond the 6 days a week that I expect to be working 12 hours a day. And if you choose to then go and play golf at that time, then you're a customer. Then you're not wearing your staff uniform. You're not representing the club. You're a customer. You're off, and everyone knows that you're off work. And I've told everyone, oh, by the way, just so everyone knows, Bill and Steve and Betty and Susie are playing in the tournament today, but they are not working. They're paying a fee. You also got to pay a fee, right? Mm-hmm. If you're not working and you are going to play golf, then there has to be some staff golf fee that makes it a transaction, so that it's clear that you've paid to go play golf as a customer, no matter what that fee is. That fee might be $20, it might be $10. So that's kind of one of the things. I'd also kind of say to staff, look, if you're not working and you're golfing with our customers, I don't expect you to get hammered. I expect you to have 2 drinks at the most, and then that's it. It's also important about where you walk into so many clubs and you'll see the staff sitting at the bar having a beer, possibly. And I always go to them and say, so you got to understand, this is the location for members to sit or customers to sit. When you're sitting here, it creates a completely different vibe. Number one. Number two is the server or the bartender is talking to you about work stuff. I want the bartender focused on the customers, not on you who just got off the golf course from Rake and Morgan's, whatever you might have been doing. So it's also very important to identify where where staff are allowed to sit when they are not working, right? So our policy is you can never have an alcoholic drink in front of you if you have a uniform on, whether you're off work or not. Obviously you have to be off work, right? And then number two is, even when you're off work, if you're going to consume as a customer, there's only certain places I want you to hang out, because the average person doesn't look at you and think, oh, I guess they must be off work and they're having a beer. No, they look at you and go, gee, I wonder if that guy's drinking, about to get him going on a mower for 15 minutes. So I think it's a really complicated topic. There's laws we have to follow. There's safety we have to follow. The zero tolerance is the best policy if you can pull it off, but it's difficult to pull it off in our business, just like it's difficult to pull it off in a restaurant business. There's pros and cons to having your employees socialize with your guests. And there's sometimes there's just certain times. Sometimes it's like, okay, we're going to allow it on Ladies' Day and Men's Day, but nowhere else during the week. I don't know, Scott. What are your thoughts? You and I both worked in restaurant chains. We know the way things work.
I think the issue with this question, the issue with this club, is probably the fact that there is no policy at all, right? And so when there's no policy in place, and the behavior doesn't line up with maybe what the manager is hoping is going to happen, that's when things become problematic, right? That's when an issue arises. So, you don't want to overregulate your business. You don't want to have a rule for absolutely every single thing, but this is probably a good area to have a policy in place for, as you said, whatever, your policy is going to be, a good part of the business to probably define what your expectations are. And, there is a template on Golf Industry Guru relating to this, funny enough. So, if this is maybe an area of your business where you don't have a policy in place today and you feel like you might want to have one, definitely download that template and edit it and make it your own and, put it into place. And, when you have a policy in place, a lot easier to encourage the behavior that you're hoping your team members will display, right? So.
Yeah, and great point. And I would finish off by just saying that one more time, the same thing, which is the importance of transparency. So it's like our safety materials that we talk about having safety committees or having safety documents or about having documents filled out by staff. These things are never important until something bad happens. And something bad will always happen. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of time before an employee has too much to drink when they're working at your facility and gets in a car and gets in an accident. And the police come knocking and say, so where's your policy? Who's enforcing that policy? Where's your checks and balances? Hold on. So let me understand this. So last night, there was just a couple staff members sitting around and the bar was unlocked and the kegs were still going and there was no cameras and no one was watching. There's no manager on duty. And you'd left it to two 19-year-olds to lock up the place, right? So It's just a matter, so anyway, and those of you that have been around this business, you know that we're all, that's the little thing in the back of our head that we're always worried about. Do I have enough things in place to keep everybody safe and to keep my business viable and healthy? So it's an important, it's a good question. It's a great question because my goodness, how many times have I've witnessed it. Every year I witness that example of Trish's question every year. Let's see. Here's the example. The example is in our day, in the old days, when I was 20 working in a golf club, well, the old water cooler talk, right? There was the way we said there was the water cooler, right? That's the blanket kind of comment about where you got the gossip, where you engaged with your fellow employees, where you left your job at your desk, so to speak, and you went to get water at the water cooler or the coffee machine, and you connected with your other staff and your other fellow employees, and you said, hey, how was your weekend? And hey, what are you doing today? And hey, how's it going today? Well, just in perspective, if you haven't already, recognize that the water cooler is this. That's the water cooler phone. The water cooler is social media. So you as the boss or manager need to just get engaged with your people through the ways that they get engaged, which is technology, right? So whether it's as simple as you having a group text with all your staff saying, hi, staff, just want to let you know we have a frost delay this morning, so we're going to start an hour late. Hi, staff, just want to let you know that tomorrow's Ladies' Day is sold out and we're going to be really busy and we ran out of burger buns. So if it's as simple as you have a group text on your phone with everyone's text number, okay, that's one. That's option number one. Obviously, then you could take it to other levels, right? There's software like Microsoft Teams. There's software like Slack. There's all kinds of technology that you could use to engage. You can create your own internal private Facebook page for all your staff if you haven't done that, right? I mean, there's all kinds of different ways for you to, first of all, get people engaged in the business. So that's number one. Number one is you've got to find a way to communicate to them in their way that they're going to communicate. So you can't just put up a bulletin board in the staff room and ask them to read it. I mean, we still do that anyway, and we should do that. But in addition to that, you've got to get to them in their medium that they want to kind of have. So that's number one. Number two is to get them. There's ways to get them engaged that are subtle that I would suggest that you try to do, right? And one of them is through committees, right? So maybe you have a staff committee that meets once a month and talks about ideas about how to improve working at XYZ Golf Club. And who sits on that staff committee is a person from each of the different departments. Maybe that's it. Maybe you have a special events committee or a social committee, and the social committee organizes staff functions, whether it's once a year or whether it's once a month or whether it's once a week. But their job is to kick ideas around and to say, hey, what can we do, first of all, with the rules of social distancing versus what do we want to do? How give them the responsibility of creating activities that engage the rest of the team. So that's having a safety committee is required, by the way. So having a safety committee getting together. So that's kind of I think a second part. So giving them extracurricular ways to engage in the business that lets them contribute ideas. So that's number two. Number three is, in addition to committees, is just to have general programs constantly ongoing that allow them to express themselves. When we survey employees, okay, so my business works with clubs all over the place, and one of the things we do is we survey employees. And one of the questions that we ask is, does anyone care about your opinion? And the answer most of the time is no.
Right.
Right. Like so we think that we're getting our staff's input, but for some reason they don't feel like they're able to give input, right? And there's many different reasons why that happens. Maybe you, as the boss person or the general manager or the owner, completely wants people's input, but maybe the department head, maybe their superintendent, who's their boss, every time they come up with a new idea, the superintendent says, we don't do things like that. This is how we've been doing it for 20 years, and I'm not going to change.
Yeah.
But you don't hear that because they don't say that in front of you. In front of you, they say, yes, Mr. Boss, yeah, I'll look into that, and then never to be heard of again. Right? So you got to find where those blockers are that's keeping people from feeling that engagement. And then also you got to make sure you survey your staff on a regular basis to make sure that they are being listened to, that they feel like they're being heard. Scott and I in our past have done various different contests, programs to get people just to be aware of that. It's as simple as having a suggestion box on your office desk or in the staff room. It could be as simple as that. Put your ideas in a suggestion box and place them in the staff room, right? Now, that's the easy part. The difficult part is motivating your department heads to seek out those suggestions, to ask their staff on a regular basis, hey, that's a great suggestion. You should put that in the suggestion box. And then for the team to take out those suggestions and to talk about them and to look at them and to explore them, and then to see if everyone thinks it's a good suggestion. And then even more difficult is to implement that suggestion. I mean, it's easy to ask for feedback. The difficult part is taking the feedback and then making change, because we don't like to make change, right? And maybe we like to make change, but our managers don't like to make change. Or maybe our managers like to make change, but I don't want to make change. Or maybe I want to make change, but our managers want to make change, but the staff don't want to make change. It takes three different groups to create innovation in your facility, and everyone has to buy in to that philosophy and that concept that we're going to be innovating. And I would propose to you that it's not the people, it's not your young people that are, it's not their fault. It's our fault. Like if our people aren't engaged, it's because we're not creating an environment that engages them. We have to speak a different language, find different ways to do things. It's like golf industry. It's like training. It's like what we're doing right now. What we're trying to do is to create a different platform that is YouTube oriented, that engages a 20-year-old to read a safety document so that we don't get sued next year when someone flips a card. Right? Like this is what we're trying to do. Right? Like we're just trying to come up with an innovative way to get them engaged to do something that they're supposed to do anyway, that we pay them to do, but we can't get them to do it if we do it the old way.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, what do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is what you're talking about, just, engaging them in programs like, the IDEA program. Anytime you can include people in the business, I think that's very meaningful for them. So to have the ability to, bring your ideas forward and have them be recognized and see them be implemented and see the positive impact on the guest experience because of that. I mean, to me, that's gold, right? That's truly going to get a young person engaged in your business. So like you said, put those programs in place, put the ability for people to participate in your business like that in place. And, some of the best ideas are going to come from those frontline team members that deal with your guests every day. They truly have their finger on the pulse of the business, and maybe in a bit of a different perspective than we do, because, we're going to be seeing things through a different lens. So, anytime, like I said, anytime you can create that opportunity for people to contribute and see their ideas be implemented and see the positive impact on the business, I think they're going to be really engaged when they go through that process, and it's just going to snowball from there. So for me, that would be the biggest takeaway from that question is, put that functionality in place and watch people become engaged in your business really quickly. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. You're
totally correct. And lastly, I would add, look around the industry and look at your peers and look at those clubs that no matter what's going on, no matter what decade it is, no matter what issue it is, no matter what, pandemic is, they still have an engaged staff. They still have an engaged team. There's a reason why leading clubs stay as leaders with creating a service culture at their facility, right? There's things that they do. So just open up your Rolodex and look at one of your peers that seems to always be getting their teams engaged, and do what they do.
Some of the best ideas are borrowed, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's go to the next one. So speak of the devil, we have lots of young staff, and I can't seem to get them into the mindset of selling. So what can we do here?
Yeah, I remember seeing that this come across our golf industry guru kind of email thing, and I thought it would be a great question for us to finish off with. This kind of our unless some of our audience has some other questions for us. But I had some thought about this, and this is my my suggestions for you in my experience, and some of the peers that I've listened to or read about. Some of our gurus, for example, we've got a course on retail sales with Rick Madison from Sales Ninja Academy, and there's some funny videos that he does in his course. But there's some really good takeaways. Even if you took some of his chapters and showed your staff, right, about get them to watch that video, just even just to watch that video from Rick about Sales Ninja Academy. They're very short little 2-3 minute chapters. But here's some suggestions that I would share with Bridget. Number one is, from the very, very beginning of the hiring process to the job description, to the training, to the onboarding, to the messaging is everyone needs to get the message that it is part of their job. Like selling is part of your job. If you
don't be afraid to take someone's money, right?
What's that?
Don't be afraid to take someone's money.
Don't be afraid to take some. We are in the taking money business.
Yeah.
For giving a service. So obviously a server or a golf shop employee is going to have more opportunity to sell than does a course grounds worker raking bunkers. But at some point, the course grounds worker is going to be at a party and someone's going to say, where do you work? And they're going to say XYZ Golf Club. And their conversation should not end there. Their job is to say, are you a golfer? Yes, I am. Have you ever played us? No, I haven't. You should. Yeah. We've got some of the best greens in town. I know because I cut them every day. Everyone's job is to sell. So number one, it's to make it part of everyone's job so that the expectation is set from the very beginning. When you work in the golf shop, you are going to have many jobs. You're going to take tee times. You're going to answer the phone. You're going to fold shirts. You are also going to sell. I know I take money for tee times. No. That's not selling. Taking money for someone that's giving us a tee time or that's already prepaid, hopefully, is not selling. Selling is saying to every single person, do you have enough balls today? Do you have a new glove? Hey, I noticed when I was putting your clubs away yesterday, Mr. Jones, that your grips haven't been done in 35 years. There's some technology out there that can maybe help you hold on to the club during the rain, right? Whatever it might. And did you know that we have a re-gripping special in March before the season starts, whatever it might be, right? So number one is make sure everyone knows it's part of the job. Number two, and this is where I feel that certainly in my travels and in the work that I do and what people get us to do is we don't have enough scripts. We don't have enough script. We can't expect a 65-year-old starter to somehow all of a sudden reinvent their personality and reinvent their level of engagement and reinvent their knowledge to all of a sudden know how to tackle slow play or to get people to start off the golf course repairing ball marks and divots and et cetera, et cetera. And keep it like we have to give them a script. And the same thing with a 19-year-old. We can't expect a 19-year-old to walk in the golf shop or to walk onto the restaurant patio and to know how to upsell someone into a double vodka martini and to sell them a dessert. They need the scripts in order to help them, kind of understand what to do, right? So whether it's, when you go to a table, you don't ask, is it a yes or no question? You ask this or that question. Would you like to start off with an appetizer or a salad? Not, would you like an appetizer or not? Could I get you a drink or not? Would you like a cold beer or would you like a Irish coffee? Right? That's a script. That's a open-ended question, right? Number one. Number two is, whenever someone is that's the simple thing: appetizer, dessert, coffee, drink, aperitif, cocktail. I mean, at some point, every table's got to get that question. When someone is in the golf shop, it's not, would you like any golf balls? It's like, by the way, did you know that we have a special sale on TaylorMades this weekend? Buy 2 dozen, get the third one free. Whatever is your program, right? That descriptive, kind of communicative, above and beyond kind of way. Having, making sure your serving staff have a favorite. How many times have you gone to a restaurant and said, hey, what's the pizza like? And the service staff says, yeah, I don't eat pizza.
Yeah. I
don't eat meat. I'm a vegetarian. I really didn't care whether you're a vegetarian or not. What I want to know is the beef brisket any good, right? So the answer in her script is, personally, I'm a vegetarian, but the customers love the beef brisket. In fact, it's something that we're kind of famous for.
Yeah,
that's the answer, right? And so giving them scripts. So that's giving them scripts. The next thing I would say that's really important to get them engaged in selling is to have some contests, some incentives to get them going, right? It's real simple little, like obviously servers get them from tips, right? But like I've gone to the beverage cart staff and said, guess what? We get over $1,000 in your shift today. And, I'm giving you a movie pass to go to a movie this weekend with your boyfriend or whatever it is. So in my bag of tricks, I've got little gift certificates, little things. Mostly I've done them in exchange and contra with local businesses. Yeah. I give someone a round of golf and they give me 20 passes to the bowling range, whatever it might be. And we've got
suppliers.
What's that's got suppliers? Yeah, of course, our suppliers, right? So, you go and you walk in, and here's the other thing to do it randomly. That's what gets people engaged. Walk in the golf shop on a Saturday morning and say, hey guys, we've got extra inventory of rainwear. It's supposed to rain today. I expect us to sell, I want to sell 5 rain suits and 4 toques and 3 umbrellas and 5 rain gloves. And if we all do that, if we do that today as a team, at the end of the day, right, I'm all going to give you a $10 gift card to Tim Hortons or, right, whatever might be your thing. So having those things, those incentives, getting them to really understand. So that would be my answer to Bridget. It would be like first of all, making it part of their job, giving them the scripts to make sure that they have that stuff, have the incentives so that they know what their benefit is. Obviously, it's easier, when if people get tips, that's easier. But it's the same with the kitchen, right? It's like getting every part of the process. That's why we have that kind of Sherpa kind of thing. And then making sure that people are trained on selling. Go to Golf Industry Guru, watch some of our retail sales stuff, things like that. I got one more bit, but Scott, anything to add to that question?
No, I think that's all spot on. I think, for whatever reason, sometimes, especially young people, when they're new in a role, like those at a club, they're sometimes just apprehensive to take people's money. I don't know why exactly that is, but I think it's important as a leader to just let them know that it's okay and they have permission to, upsell and in a professional way. Make it a game to see how much you can garner from these people, right? Like that's the name of the game. And I think if we were to have all of our team members doing that all the time in the right way, you'd see a very significant impact to the bottom line at the end of the day. So
totally
give your team members the permission to do that. And, as you said, you have those scripts, which are guidelines on how to do it, how to best approach it. And, with some incentives there, making it fun, having the contesting, I think it all comes together really nicely.
And I'll finish off, Scott. My favorite story about the importance of being willing to take people's money. And Scott and I, we used to manage a club many, many, many long years ago. And we had this one of our members who was a very wealthy man. But he wore jeans and kind of torn t-shirts on a regular basis.
Is this Bill?
Yes.
Okay.
And one day he decided to buy his wife a car. And so he walked into the BMW dealership. And the guy looked at him like he was there to clean the toilets. He gave him the whole, can I help you? But the salesman identified in the very beginning that this guy was not going to buy a BMW. And so what this member did, he was so offended that he left the BMW dealership, went to the Mercedes dealership down the street, bought the Mercedes, got in the Mercedes, drove back to the BMW dealership and asked for the manager. Then the manager comes out, and this member of ours was on the gruff side, to say the least. And he pulled the manager out and he said, "You see that guy?" And he pointed at him and he goes, "That guy just cost you a $120,000 car sale." And he turned around and walked out and got in his Mercedes and drove off, right? Because don't judge a book by its cover, and don't assume that people can't afford or want to spend money on stuff. And I would say